Hello everyone, it's Eric. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the new rumored prices for Warhammer, the Old World. So, before I get into the prices, I'm just going to have a little disclaimer here that potentially unpopular opinion coming up, so just be a little forewarned. This is Google Trends, and this is comparing the search volume for terms like Warhammer 40k compared to Warhammer Age of Sigmar, compared to Warhammer the Old World over the past 5 years. And as we can see, both Age of Sigmar and the Old World have a tiny fraction of the search volume compared to 40k. So just bear that in mind, and with that in mind, let's just discuss the prices. Okay, so here's the rumored image of the price leak, and here we can see, the metal kits, the cards, the plastic bases, and the resin kits. So, in all honesty, they're a good bit more expensive than I thought they'd be. I mean, I think these the main core boxes at like 255 United States dollars is a pretty good value, and if you factor in how many models you're getting and the points of said models, it's I think it's like 1250 points. I think it's a pretty good value. Same with the Tomb Kings, and they're all plastic, so it's a nice just one and done. It's a good value. But when we get to the things like the Grail Knights, these are, according to this price leak, it's $60 per set of 3, which I was pretty naive. I thought they were going to be like $30 for a set of 3, but it's double that. So yeah, that's a little steep. And when people say things like, the old world is just going to fail, just like fantasy failed, well, I don't think Games Workshop has really positioned this new incarnation of Warhammer to be able to fail in the same way that fantasy failed, because it's not being positioned or marketed as a flagship kind of product or IP. This kind of very much reads as kind of like a made to order kind of nostalgia, made to order kind of sale. So I mean, it kind of seems like they know, I'm sure they see these trends in their sales data, and they're kind of just testing the waters here. So it's probably going to be made to order. They figured people that are interested are willing to pay a premium for it, and you're not going to. It's not like you're going to see these in any of their stores. It's probably going to be online only. Same with most of these. So I don't think the old world is really in a position to fail again the way fantasy did for lack of sales. I think it's it's just going to be an ongoing source of revenue to a bit more of a niche market. So I'm not concerned in that respect, but do I think a unit of 3 Grail Knights is worth $60? I mean, I guess you have to compare. It's kind of subjective. If you really like these models, these are going to be cheaper than eBay, believe it or not. So, it's a decent value compared to eBay, but these are considerably more expensive than what they used to be. And I got this kit when they first came out, and I was way younger back then, and I really didn't know half of what I know now. And I had a really hard time with it because it's metal and plastic, and to really secure these pieces together, you're gonna have to pin them and use super glue or maybe like a 2-part epoxy. And I know when I tried to put together this banner, if you look at the way that the pole that the banner's hanging off of and how it's secured to the hand, that's a very thin pole, and that's made of pewter, and it's kind of a soft metal. So like that banner snapped on me, and then I had 2 replacements, and both of them snapped. So I'm kind of concerned about this banner. But back when I got it, like, Games Workshop was set up so that you could basically order any bit individually. So if you wanted a new banner, you could just order that banner individually. You didn't have to buy the whole box. But that was a long time ago. It's certainly not like that now. So yeah, I'm really happy to see these coming back. I know before you leave a comment and say, oh, it's too expensive, and I'm not paying 2024 prices for 20-year-old models. I get it. I totally get it. It's not for everybody. It's probably not even for, it's not even for most people. It's for, you know, a very niche group that really value it. And if that's not you, that's totally okay. I mean, there's more than enough for, you know, most interest, I think. So no need to leave a comment that's, you know, that's saying what we're all thinking. Unless you really want to. Of course, you can do what you want. All right, moving on. So we have the Grail Pilgrims. I think this box is going to be around $80, and the Relic is going to be about $65. And you know, it's steep. It's definitely steep. I mean, you know, these are entering Forge World prices in my opinion. And I know when Games Workshop kind of wrapped Forge World into the main website and just called it Warhammer.com, I kind of figured that it was going to be, it's kind of their way of kind of rationalizing charging Forge World prices for everything. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's expensive, but it is metal, so at least it's not fine cast. And if you really like these models, I mean, I'd really rather get these in metal than fine cast, because I know with fine cast, the amount of time you have to spend just filling in the little holes and bubbles, you know, I'd rather just pay more for metal, just because the amount of time you save is worth it to me. But, you know, I get it that it's very expensive and for older models, but in my opinion, you know, these older metal models have a level of nuance and detail that just isn't quite seen in newer plastic kits. I mean, the newer plastic kits are really good for plastic kits. They're probably the best plastic kits in the industry, but you know, plastic kits, they just can't capture really subtle details the way like a rubber molded metal kit can. It's like they can't, because plastic kits are always limited to, you know, they can't have any undercuts, so they can't have little details on like the sides of the models. Like, can't have any indentations on the sides. So like, you couldn't really get chainmail on a plastic model like this and have it in a 2-part mold. That's why in the newer plastic kits, they always have something covering up the sides of detailed areas, like chainmail or fur. They always have like rope or some kind of trinket covering up details on the sides, because they can't sculpt that very well, or they can't cast that very well. It's like you could never get chainmail on the side of this guy's or the side of this corpse's armor like that to cast in a plastic mold, but you can with metal. So it's nice to see that back, which I know many people may not care, but I don't know, I think it's a nice detail. And the mounted yeoman. So I thank everyone in my previous video for correcting me when I didn't know how to pronounce this kit. It's yeoman from what I hear, so correct me again if I'm wrong. But yeah, so the set of 5 is going to be $75 and the command is going to be $60, which I think is kind of, I don't know, it's pretty steep. I mean, it's cheaper than eBay. I mean, I've seen just a single yeoman on eBay go for $44, so I mean, it's a great value compared to eBay, but compared to what they used to cost, I don't know. I mean, I totally get it. For the price of 8 yeomen with the command and 6 Grail Knights, you could basically get another starter bundle and get over a 2,000 point army. But I mean, I'm gonna keep referring back to this graph, and you know, I think we all get it that this is for a niche market that values this and is maybe nostalgic for it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if that's not you, that's totally okay. That is totally okay. But I mean, in my opinion, you know, 40K has had the spotlight for the past decade, so it's good to see something different and a nod to the legacy of Games Workshop, which I think we're all kind of fond of. And here we have some of the Forge World kits. I'm pretty sure this is around $35, which is kind of standard for a single model these days. It's a bit steep, I get it, but looking good. Here we have the battle standard bearers on foot and mounted. I think this is going to be about $85, which is it's pretty. Even I think that's pretty steep. I don't know. I mean, they do look really nice, but I guess everyone's going to have to make that decision for themselves if they're interested. We have the captain with paladin with greatsword. Really like how that sword is painted. I think it's going to be also around like 35. We have the dice and Tomb King stuff. I'm not going to go over every single kit. I mean, if you're interested, you can screenshot this list of the prices. But I know one note I'll make is the new Ushabti, or the old Ushabti. It's like $85 for 3, which I mean, yeah, this is that's steep. So, but I mean, I don't know, if you factor in the savings you're going to get with the bundle, and then you just want to pick up an Ushabti unit, I mean, it may be worth it to some people, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, these all look great, especially this new Tomb Swarm looks really nice. And here we have the bases, and based on the leak, it says the bases are going to be about $50 for 100 bases, which is exactly what you see for the 32mm base pack for 100, so it's totally plausible. I can totally see that happening. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of other companies and places that sell square bases, but they don't, no one really has plastic versions of a 30mm square bases. If you want that, you're gonna have to get MDF, and if you get MDF, it's totally solid. It's not hollow on the bottom, so maybe that's not an issue for you, but just an FYI. But I'm really happy that they're going to be selling all the bases individually, so I think it's about time, and I'm happy about that. It's a bit steep for everything that's not the core box set, but I think it kind of tells me that they see that this is going to be a niche thing. Kind of sounds like it's not going to be their bread and butter, so if you really like this setting, then you can kind of just get it and know that it's going to be almost like a self-contained set of rules with all the factions from day one. And I think that's a good thing, because you don't have to wait for different codexes, and then there's the whole arms race of newer codexes being better. So hopefully it'll just be balanced from the get-go and remain balanced, and it can be just a balanced ecosystem in and of itself, separate from the whole 40k Age of Sigmar codex arms race that perpetually happens until every 3 years there's a new edition. So I'm really happy about this, and if you are a fan of the setting or Warhammer Fantasy or the old world, I think, and if you want to see GW keep making new kits for this and just expanding on this, I think you should consider supporting them and help contributing to the success of this IP if you want to see it successful. Obviously, if you don't care, then you should do what you want, obviously. But I'm really happy that players are going to be having more choices, and they can choose between Age of Sigmar or 40k or the old world or Horus Heresy, and we're not going to have like a portion of the player base that might feel a bit left out based on maybe shifting demographics, or because the thing they liked wasn't selling well enough to the general population. So I hope this can be something that pleases everybody, and everyone can choose the system that works for them, and they can choose to invest to the degree they feel comfortable with. And yeah, I think this is good for everybody, and I'm very excited. I've been waiting for this for, let's say, 10 years. I am just really happy with this, because I know when I first started with Warhammer Fantasy, I just didn't know a quarter of what I know now about painting, and I was super slow, so I never finished anything. And now there's so many more resources available to learn how to paint things more efficiently and faster, and so many more tools that painting armies like this is going to be easier than it was in, say, like 2007 or so. It's because people have airbrushes now and contrast or extra higher opacity paint, and there's just a whole community of support now. So I think this is a boon and a win for everybody. Let me know in the comments below. I ask to please be respectful. If this isn't your cup of tea, then that's totally fine, but just try to be a little courteous to people who do appreciate this kind of thing. Thank you. I thank you for watching. If you like my content, please consider liking and subscribing. Have a great day. Bye-bye.